Hello and welcome. This is Amhara Media Corporation and you are watching our Friday update live from Bahar Dar, Ethiopia in Ayam Fukradizodou. Stay with us. Diplomats and representatives of international organizations based in Addis Ababa were briefed yesterday on state of emergency in Ethiopia. Let's get more from the report. During the briefing, Justice Minister Gideon Timoteo said the state of emergency proclamation is enacted to avert the threat against the existence and sovereignty of the country.
We believe that the TPLF and its terrorist proxies and allies are posing a grave threat, some might even say an existential threat to the Ethiopian state. Under these circumstances, to avert this danger, we have found it to be necessary to provide the appropriate law enforcement agencies, security agencies, with additional powers to counter this threat.
The state of emergency will be overseen and implemented by a state of emergency operation command to be led by the chief of staff. The minister stated that the state of emergency operation command can order the deployment of the armed forces or other security forces in any part of the country to maintain peace and security. He also said the command may order security forces to use proportionate forces when it finds it necessary for the execution of state of emergency measures provided in this proclamation.
Without prejudice to diplomatic immunities indicated under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, substantive and procedural laws inconsistent with this proclamation shall remain suspended during the implementation of this proclamation.
The minister said they believe that as far as diplomatic mission of states are concerned, the proclamation is clear in that it protects and exempts diplomatic immunities from any suspension.
The government of Ethiopia would like to provide assurances to concerned intergovernmental organizations that for the purpose and duration of this proclamation, the immunities and privileges which intergovernmental organizations and their staff enjoy pursuant to other international treaties or host country agreements concluded with the government of Ethiopia will be considered as being analogous to and enjoying a similar exempt status from the state of emergency proclamation as the diplomatic immunities and privileges provided for under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations.
He reaffirmed that the suspension of substantive and procedural laws inconsistent with this proclamation does not affect immunities and privileges that emanate from host country agreement and other international treaties and instruments concerning intergovernmental organizations or any international organizations that enjoy similar status under international law. Foreign Affairs State Minister Redwan Hussein said on his part that the very purpose of this proclamation is to empower citizens to be very much active in making the safety of all of us and each and everyone living together.
It's only to give flexibility for the government and also to make sure that every citizen would act swiftly to cooperate with the government so that any belligerent actors would not have a safe haven or would not have a certain ability to destabilize the nation any further. Otherwise, your immunity rights are very much intact.
He added that the other one major aspect of this state of emergency is to be flexible for the government to make sure that we all are safe to just bypass some of domestic laws which could hinder the government under the constitutional and other laws. The state of emergency will remain into effect for the coming 6 months. Members of House of People's Representatives said the state of emergency they approved yesterday is crucial to avert threats posed on Ethiopia's existence, and we have Brahan Warkana for the detail.
They stated that taking into account the close collaboration of the terrorist TPLF with powers that desire to dismantle Ethiopia, it has become necessary to declare and implement the state of emergency to avert the threats. Among members of the House, Dina Mufti said, Imposing a state of emergency is crucial to protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country and to protect the nation from internal and external threats. Internal strength is essential to withstand external pressures, he said, adding that unity and cooperation could help tackle the unjust interference of foreign powers.
አደጋዎቹ በርካቶች ናቸው። ወታደራዊ አደጋ አለ፣ የኢኮኖሚ አሻጥር እንደዚሁ የተጋረጠ ኢኮኖሚ አሻጥር አለ፣ የስነ ልቦና ጦርነት፣
economic crisis, psychological warfare and military dangers, among others, are problems that challenge Ethiopia's existence and sovereignty. The proclamation was therefore issued by recognizing that these forces are collaborating with other forces to destroy Ethiopia. The proclamation will enable the country to reverse the dangers it faces through popular movement.
በአዋጅ ውስጥ ተመላክቶ ይሄን ለመቀልበስ የሚያስችለውን ህዝባዊ እንቅስቃሴ ለማስቀጠል ወይም ለማስጀመር የተደረገ አዋጅ ነው።
With regard to the implementation of the approved proclamation, he said, members of the House of People's Representatives have double responsibility in taking the lead to execute it. Another member of the parliament, who is from the national movement of Amhara, Christian Tadela, said, the main objective of the state of emergency is to protect the public and safeguard the nation. It would also enable the deployment of armed forces or other security forces in any part of the country to maintain peace and security. Christian underscored that a state of emergency has been declared several times before to suppress the demands of the people and to maintain power. But this proclamation is unique in content. There is clear threat to national unity and sovereignty as well as well-being of the people. This situation cannot be reversed by implementing the regular law enforcement, mobilizing the security forces, political forces, and various resources throughout the country in coordinated manner. Through this proclamation has therefore become the best option to ensure victory. The state of emergency proclamation endorsed by the House of People's Representatives will remain in effect for 6 months, starting from its promulgation by the Council of Ministers.
Ethiopian Patriots Association President Lij Daniel Jote Mesfin said that the international community is ill-informed about current situation in Ethiopia, and we have Brahanu Warkana for the data.
The president told Ethiopian news agency some foreign powers have been pouring unjust pressure on the government of Ethiopia and ignoring the deeds of the terrorist group TPLF that violate international and national laws. He noted that despite the horrific crimes it committed, the terrorist TPLF group is not condemned by the international community, and this defies logic. The president elaborated that to defend the federal government, the terrorist group has been using the international media to carry out smearing campaigns through the international media that willingly collaborates with TPLF. Lij Daniel further pointed out that the terrorist group has been massacring people, killing domestic animals like camel to harm pastoral communities that are strongly attached to them, raping women and looting properties, among others. He added that the immoral group even killed both Christian and Muslim religious fathers besides destroying churches and mosques in the areas it occupied, and this is not acceptable by any measurement. However, the international organization is not denouncing the evil terrorist group but imposing all forms of pressure on Ethiopia. The president called on all pertinent international organizations and the community to warn the terrorist TPLF to stop killing more innocent civilians and destroy infrastructure. He also urged the international community to keep their hands off Ethiopia, appreciating the firm commitment of all Ethiopians to defend the country from the terrorist group. Lij Daniel underscored that Ethiopians are capable of safeguarding the sovereignty of the country.
A report by an international human rights commission disqualified the accusation hurled on Ethiopia by the terrorist TPLF and its media supporters, alleging that the National Defense Force of Ethiopia have committed genocide in Tigray region and the government has used hunger as a political weapon with no tangible evidence. And we have Ababa Brahane for the report.
The joint investigation team, composed of Ethiopian Human Rights Commission and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, completed and delivered its final report on the alleged violations of human rights in Tigray region. It is to be recalled that the federal government was forced into a war, followed by the most atrocious attack that terrorist TPLF has conducted on the officers at the Northern Command of the National Defense Force of Ethiopia on November 3, 2020. Although the group's spokesperson have bragged and boasted that they have managed to attack the Northern Command in a blitzkrieg speed in 45 minutes, international organizations and media outlets did not pay attention on how the conflict was triggered. However, the Joint Investigation Team disclosed that the conflict was ignited by terrorist TPLF in its preemptive attack controlling the Northern Command headquarters and its armory. However, some international media companies were attempting to blindly make the Ethiopian government accountable through their media coverage for all that has happened in Tigray region. These international media outlets and governments in some Western countries have also been working in coordination on dissemination of false information for exerting pressure on the government, attesting that the Ethiopian government was deliberately using food as a political weapon to perpetrate genocide in Tigray. Moreover, some international organizations have continued to openly accuse Ethiopia and are still continued to do so, parroting on the information conveyed to them by these international media enterprises, in that the government is deliberately making the people of Tigray vulnerable to famine. For instance, the Associated Press was spreading false information that the government is weaponizing hunger for political ends. Furthermore, Reuters and Washington Post have been reporting that senior United Nations humanitarian affairs official Mr. Mark Lowcock was quoted as saying Ethiopia has been using hunger as a political weapon. In June 2021, the BBC has reportedly come up with similar reports. Based on these false assertions, some international organizations have continued to exert huge pressure on the Ethiopian government. The fact is, Ethiopia has been working much harder to effectively facilitate rapid flow of food aid for citizens in Tigray by air and on land transport. According to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on June 30, 2020, prior to the unilateral ceasefire, the government has expended 100 billion birr to ensure sustained relief supply and rehabilitation programs in support for the residents of the region. In spite of the fact that terrorist TPLF was killing those who were busy extensively working on various maintenance on infrastructure and rehabilitation programs. In spite of the fact that the government has introduced various measures in easing the plight of the needy in Tigray, the media in the West were attempting to portray terrorist TPLF as holy and with no blemish. Apart from the fact that terrorist TPLF was obstructing easy flow of food aid to Tigray and has also used trucks that entered the region for transporting its fighters to Amhara and Afar regions. Although the Joint Investigation Team's report is not adequate enough on some areas of its investigation, it had shed some light of the objective reality in the region regarding the issue at hand. The report by the Joint Investigation Team has confirmed that the terrorist organization has been blocking roads, preventing the quick flow of food to the needy in Tigray and has caused their starvation. The Ethiopian government, on the other hand, has repeatedly responded to the false allegations that are using hunger as a political weapon. On the other hand, the report from the Joint Investigation Team noted that the allegations have no viable and convincing evidence that indicate that the Ethiopian government was using hunger as a weapon for political purposes. Furthermore, the Joint Investigation Team report has disclosed that there was no evidence that showed the Ethiopian government was involved in genocide. Speaking on the occasion of the delivery of the report by the Joint Investigation Team in Switzerland, Michelle Bachelet-Jeria, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights said there is no evidence that could lead to conclusions that genocide was conducted in Ethiopia. In addition, the Joint Investigation Team report has declared that more than 200 innocent people were killed by terrorist TPLF-affiliated called Samre. The report has also confirmed that the Tigray Special Forces and allied militia attacked the northern command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force and took control of the bases and weaponry on November 3, 2020. Moreover, in the past, the terrorist TPLF officials have repeatedly denied that no ethnic-based killings have taken place in Maikadra and were calling for an independent investigation into the incident.
This is Amhara Media Corporation and you are watching our daily news live from Bahar Dar, Ethiopia. And now let's see the foreign currency exchange rate of the day. This is all we got for today. I am Fikradi Zodu and you are watching Amhara Media Corporation. Goodbye and have a nice weekend.